You are from a district with over 40,000 federal employees. It feels like the news cycle has really moved on from the impacts of DOGE and the mass layoffs to federal agencies. But in reality, the world, our lived experiences have not moved on. What is it like for your constituency, for where you live, for the people you serve after the aftermath of everything that the Trump administration sort of bowls through?
It's Haley on the Hill. Come with me as I take your questions to the halls of Congress every Tuesday.
Yeah, I think number one, the news media has moved on because Elon Musk is no longer in town. And so maybe it's not as sexy as it was before, but the real world consequences are vast. I was at a community picnic just last night in the pouring down rain, and a constituent came up to me and said that her wife, who was a lead scientist at NOAA, who was responsible for the aftermath of oil spills, was fired a year before her retirement. And these are real people's lives doing really important hard work for the American people. So I get those stories so often, grocery stores, restaurants, even when I'm walking down the street. So number one, there's a human toll. But number two, I get weekly reports, as any good member of Congress, of our outstanding casework, the constituent services work from the district. And the outstanding work has gone up because there's not as many people answering the phones, able to respond even to members of Congress when we're calling on behalf of a constituent. And so I think it's important to remember, in Maryland, we're home to Social Security Administration, right? When they lose 7,000 jobs here in Maryland and across the country, that means there are fewer people who can answer the phone, file the paperwork, help pay out the benefits that Americans have spent their lives and careers paying into. And so that is just one example of one, federal bureaucratic department that touches everybody's lives. And it goes on and on with IRS, with Veterans Affairs, with FDA, all of these things. And so it's hit my district so acutely, but I think Americans across the country are feeling it because there are just fewer people to actually provide the services those Americans are paying taxpayer dollars for.
Yeah, the ripple effects are going to be astronomical for people's daily lives. I think you touched upon something so interesting that most people don't know about, which is constituent services.
Yeah.
I think most people have no idea that that's something that members of Congress or your office do. Can you explain a little bit about what that casework is?
Listen, before I got to Congress, I served in the Maryland State Senate for 6 years. And I always said, and I still believe it, my best days are when I can help somebody. My worst days are when I can't. And that really, really boils down to constituent services. Yes, I'm here to pass legislation, and I love doing that. I'm a huge policy nerd. But first and foremost, it's how can I be of help to my constituents on their hardest days, when they can't get the Social Security benefits they paid into, when they're owed an IRS refund, when veterans can't get an appointment at the VA. Like, all of these are unacceptable. And it's my job to basically throw elbows when I can, and also to try to get answers for our constituents in creative ways. So one thing we did was actually take donuts to, I'm not going to name which department, but to a department that had a field office in our district. And we just took them donuts, and I sat down with the head of that field office and just talked about casework and how our offices can work together. And that has put faces to names for my staff. And so when we call them, they know that it's serious and we have that relationship. So we've closed about 1,200 cases in our district just in the first 8.5 months of me being in Congress, but there's still so much more to do, and it's so important. And I encourage folks, please reach out to your members of Congress on federal issues. You can also reach out on local and state issues, and we'll work with you to refer it to the right person. It's really funny. A lot happened last night at this community picnic. We had a telephone town hall 2 nights ago, and I had a constituent call in who has disabilities, and he was not getting his Social Security benefits that way. I happened to run into him at this community picnic last night too, and our caseworker, Chris, had called him the next day immediately, and we're starting to work on his case. And so my mentor in politics was Senator Barbara Mikulski, who was the first Democratic woman elected to the Senate in her own right. And she would always say, we can't guarantee an outcome, but we can guarantee an effort. And that's my job, especially when it comes to constituent services.
I love that quote. Also, what a great mentor to have in politics.
She's badass. Yes, it's wonderful. She's right back.
Incredible. I want to ask you one last thing while I have you, is for people who are starting to experiencing those ripple effects of the mass layoffs, of the agencies being cut and gutted, what can they do to keep the stories alive if the news isn't talking about it? Who should they be talking to? What should they be doing?
Yeah. Number one, I used to teach public policy, and I used to teach my students like the hierarchy of advocacy. And number one, when you have a problem or you have an idea or constituent services that need to be solved, like number one, show up to your member of Congress's office and ask for support. You can then call, email. I gotta say, like the least effective way is tweeting about it. just because we're tweeted at all the time. And I think the most effective way is trying to get that support from your member of Congress, through the diplomatic kind of means. And if they're not responsive, like call your local newspaper and say, I have a really big problem and my member of Congress isn't being helpful or even answering the phone, or even their staff won't even take a meeting with me. Like those stories need to be told because we have to be accountable to people. And that's first and foremost our job. So keep those stories alive, but also try diplomatically to resolve it first before you go to social media. And if it doesn't work, then start telling people that my member of Congress didn't even pick up the phone. No, there's a difference if we just can't solve a problem, and there's a lot of problems I just don't have the power to solve. But again, I'm always going to guarantee that effort.
Thank you so much for talking to us and for all the effort you're doing in helping us with our problems.
Thank you.